Oh, let me see. It's supposed to come to me, right?
Yeah, it should be. It ain't to you yet. There we go.
What you mean? There we go.
I just popped up on my phone.
Open your ears and listen. Direction for your ambitions. New narrative. This the community coalition.
Yeah, it should be.
We're here for the intervention. We've been letting this lie for too long. Still not no unity in the communities. Open your ears and listen. Direction for your ambitions. New narrative. This the community coalition.
Yeah, it should be.
We're here for the intervention. We've been letting this lie for too long. Still not no unity in the community. Open your ears and listen. Direction for your ambitions. New narrative. This the community coalition.
Should be.
We're here for the intervention.
Hey,
Yo,
we back here today. It's 119 Media Group.
we here.
Two of us, so it's not 360 today. We just like to use the music,
Yeah,
so it's just me and Dory talking today.
two is a party. Two is a party.
Two is a party,
Two is a party.
and then we keep one on the phone.
Okay.
So what's going on, man? How was your week today?
My week's pretty good, man. It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. TGIF. I get a time to depress. Hard weekend. Ready to get the weekend started.
Ready to get the weekend started.
Ready to get the weekend started.
So what you do this weekend?
Tomorrow I'm going to the
yeah, you going to the
I'm going
beach.
to go to the ocean a little bit. Eat some
Okay.
crab legs, you said, right? Crab legs,
legs,
seafood.
Yeah.
I'm going to the beach. Put my
Happy-
feet in the sand.
Happy birthday, Twyla McAllister.
Oh, happy birthday.
And on the line, we have all the way from New Jersey.
Oh, man.
They call them.
That's right. Listen, you know, I was just talking about you, man.
Hope it
I
was
was
good.
just, well, not you. I'm just talking about my children.
Okay.
I was telling this sister, right? Because the incident had come up and it reminded me, and it took me back to your sister.
Uh-huh.
And I was saying, you know, most of my life, you know, I was in jail, this, that, and other, this, that, so forth, and so on. I said, so when I finally got my life together, I wanted to establish a relationship with my children. So I said, I had a conversation with both of them, right? I said, you know I wasn't here, yada, yada, yada. And I said, but I'm asking to be a part of your life. If you accept me, I appreciate it. If you don't, I understand. And this is the conversation I was just having prior to you calling.
Word.
And I said they allowed me back in their life. And I said that was good. I said, but an incident had come up with my daughter, and I knew she was all out wrong. But I was too much of a coward to tell her she was wrong because I said, boy, I just got back in. I don't want to mess this up. You know what I mean? And so I had a conversation with her mother. And her mother said to me, you know what? You claim you love your daughter. Now, if your daughter is wrong, you need to tell her she's wrong, no matter what the consequences is. Because
Right.
if you love her wrong, you need to tell her she's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's almost as if I was putting myself. No, it wasn't almost as if. It was definitely I was putting myself and my own security, for a lack of a better word, in front of the welfare of my daughter. I just wanted to say that. Anyway,
You was trying
What's going on?
You was trying to protect your that you just got back in there.
Yeah.
my relationship.
The relationship
Right.
that you're trying to build.
Yeah, but that was cowardly of me.
Yeah.
You know, in retrospect, when I look back, you know what I mean? And she told me, she said it, you know, and when she said it, you know, it was right on point. It was like, don't. And so I did what I needed to do.
Yeah. You know,
I guess that's what,
you know
I
the
guess
crazy.
that's what parenting is about.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You want to know what's crazy though? This
What?
week I was thinking, it's hard to be a man.
Tell me about
It is.
The end. Yeah.
But everybody has the definition of what a real man is.
Right.
Every a woman, a anything they have every other person besides a man has the definition of what a real man is. A real man wears pink. A real man pays all the bills.
Yeah, right.
A real man does this.
Yeah.
A real man does that.
A real man cry.
A real man cry. A real man make sure his kids have that.
Yeah.
A real man make sure his wife feels this way.
Yeah.
A real man make sure he feeds the dog every day.
Yeah. The man takes the trash. Everything.
The man got to open the door.
Yeah.
Then he got to pay for the food at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Hey.
And all those those are traditions and customs, right?
Right.
But you know what? You got to try to separate gender and just say a man. Take a man and just put him as an adult. Take the gender out of it and just an adult.
Right.
When you maturity, whether it's man or a woman, But a lot of stuff, like you just said, it's tradition. Man does this, a man's supposed to do that, a man's supposed, and it's custom, But a lot of that stuff we were taught was not correct. Because it's like you couldn't have caught me in no paint 20 years ago. You ain't gonna melt me and pour me in no daggone paint.
No,
but right now, I've got a few pink pieces, and I like the way I look at them too.
And you say you heard me? He old school. So I got a few pink pieces.
Yeah, you couldn't melt them and pour.
You couldn't melt them and pour them on me 20 years ago.
But there's a saying, James, that and I know you know it.
Who's James?
I'm sorry. There's a saying.
Erwin.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Or the starter cat.
Or the fitted. But the crown is heavy, man. The crown is heavy itself. There's so much we have to do. We have to be accountable for as an adult.
Yeah.
As an adult.
Yeah, as an adult. But another thing, and I'm sure my son's gonna attest to this, a lot of the stuff we got to learn on our own. Some of us are fortunate to have kings raise us.
Right.
Kings just to be kings. But then a lot of us have to come into our own. And although we come late, thank God we come.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. There's no time limit on when you become a man or an adult. You just got to get there.
William Robinson.
What's that?
We on the phone, man. We live, man. We just put you in on the radio. I'm here, Dory here, my father's here, and you called, so I just put you in.
What's up, my brother Keeper?
What's up, bro? What's up?
Hey, you jump in, man. We live, man.
Whatever happened to am I my brother's keeper, huh?
The plug.
It became my people's keeper.
Yeah.
A moment of information. Impartation.
Okay.
William,
that's what's up.
I had to shout you out, William. William, my pops is on the line. His name was Erwin Scott.
There are consequences of being your people's keeper. And if you ain't prepared for the consequences, I would advise you to stay away from that. Now, some of us we may not be prepared for the consequences, but we realize the consequences, and the message outweigh the consequences.
That's right.
And I'm going through that.
That's right.
Well, I mean, the only thing I can say, man, is when you're chosen, man, you really don't have any debate. And I'm not saying that in a cocky way. Yeah. When you're chosen to do a thing, you can think a lot of things, but oftentimes, because you're chosen, you're placed in it. And whatever consequences come with it, when it comes, you just deal accordingly. But when you're focused on the call, or when you focus on the assignment, those consequences that come, it's already taken care of when you know that there's a higher power that got you.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey,
that's right.
He is a people's keeper.
Hey, that's good stuff, my brother.
That's right.
Yeah. So how was your weekend, William?
Huh?
How was your week, sir?
Man, the week has been progressive, man. We're excited. About definitely getting through the week.
Oh, okay.
Getting ready for the weekend.
Oh, yeah, because
it's been productive.
Hey, I had some great reviews of the show that me and you was on your show.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna talk to the agent. See what we can, talk to the agent, see what we can do, see if we can take this on the road.
Take the show on the road, my brother.
Let's do it, man.
Hey, Will. Hey, you know when you take the show on the road, you can't leave your frat behind, man.
Oh, well, listen. When you're listen, I say this right here. You know, shout out to Bishop Jake. I mean, hey, you know, when he got a show on the road, you know, he got people in place that'll take care of the flat while he's gone. So
there you go. So you gonna leave me to take care of? I gotta take her home while you're on the road. I got you.
Will, we gotta go.
We gotta go.
I got you.
How's the family, man?
Well, but you know what?
Go ahead.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, man. I've really been thinking about that, man, about the show, man, and really, I felt compelled that we need to have more conversations. You know, with fathers, you know, just kind of just to talk about some of the trends, some of the things that, you know, now that you see as a father yourself, and you look at some of the battles that you deal with, and again, when we look at the absentee fathers, you know, this thing is not easy. Definitely, there's no, you know, we're not trying to compare the two, but you know, there's no other way but to compare at times. But the focus is talking about fathers. So sometimes we start talking about fathers. Well, what about the mothers? Well, you know, we get all of that, but that's why we're talking about the fathers, because you know, because there's a void or a missing space for a lot of them. We want to talk to the positive so that we can try to help fill those voids.
Right.
Yeah.
Because again, you know, this thing ain't easy. A lot of people have died from it. I mean, that's just sad. A lot of people, you know, they had heart attacks, stress, all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people that we do know, they ran from it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so when you decide to stay and to choose each day to be a father, and you start thinking things out, because again, like, you know, like Brother Fred has talked about, and you know, and even the other brother was on with us. You know, there's no owner's manual. You know, there's no owner's manual to it. And so you try to find, if you didn't have the model, you know what I'm saying, you try to find a model that would, you know, that help bond those pieces together to kind of help you through it. And even when you have a model, sometimes you just want to see, man, Dad, I mean, now I'm getting it. I see why, you know, you was working 2 and 3 jobs in hustle. I see now. I see why. I see why, you know what I'm saying, you had to walk out the door for a little bit and go, you know, sit in the back and take a breather for a minute. I see why you said it.
Oh, man.
Hey. Came in the house. I get it now, brother. I see why you slept on the chair. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. I do. And so, you know, at the end of the day, man, we got to be thankful and grateful that, number one, they decided, in spite of, and again, we ain't perfect. They wasn't perfect, but the fact that they did their best to fight through, you know, all of the, you know, challenges, you know, all of the drama, all of the trauma, you know, that speaks volumes. And so we got to do our best to try to keep lifting each other up the best we can and putting it out there. Because sometimes these are the discussions that we don't have. You know, the women, they talk about it all day.
All day.
So they got mama, grandma, auntie, all them.
All day.
And oftentimes opportunities that we get in the barbershop at that, you know what I'm saying? You know, and again, I appreciate barbershop 1 and 2. I do. But I think that there was something sacred that should have been kept.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, you right about that.
Hey, man. Hey, Will, you know, everything you talking about, man, is on point, man. I come from a place where my dad told me that no matter what the cost was, that he was going to stick it and stay, and he was going to raise his kids. And I'm a product of that. And I find myself, like you said, there's no manual to it. You know, I can remember being 23 years old, having 5 kids and being married. There was no manual. I didn't have anybody to say, hey, this is how you do it. This is what you do. I didn't have any of that. All I knew was the words of my dad, who said, no matter what, you raise your kids. So you weathered storms. We weathered disagreements. We weathered whatever we had to do to make sure that I was going to be there to raise my kids. And like you said earlier when you came on, sometimes you don't have to know all the answers. You just have to accept the assignment. And once you start accepting the assignment, man, everything else, you will find a mentor. It'll fall into place, man. It'll fall into place. That's good stuff, Will. That's good stuff.
I remember when you told me that about your kids.
Yeah.
When we were talking about child support a long time ago, and you told me if I have to pay that, then I'll pay that, and I'll make it how I can.
I'll make it how I can.
I didn't understand that then. Remember that?
Yeah.
I said, man, you crazy. I said,
I'm gonna put a plug right here. And you, right now where we are, and we sitting here talking right now in this moment. And from our show, when Jamel, we did the show, when you came on, and we were able to talk to Fred and my brother. What's my other brother's name?
Jim Jones.
Jim Jones. That's right. The real Jim Jones. Jim Jones. And just for you to play back in your mind, you know, meeting them and talking to them and how they were able to get you through and meeting their dads and even with you right now talking to my brother and talking about remembering the moment when he was going through this whole situation with the child support.
Yeah.
I believe that this right here gives confirmation that we have the mandate right now to really start unifying and helping each other as men, especially when you talk about men that deal with mental illness in private.
Yeah.
When you talk about men that are silent with dealing with not having nobody to tell them I'm going to stick it through. You just got to stick through. You just got to fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that this is really, we're on to something because again, we hear about it all the time. What about did they beat that? What about don't do nothing for you? What about when they don't come? What about that? What about, well, we hear all that. Forget about all that.
Yeah.
The focus is the ones that's here and the ones that's doing.
Yeah.
And again, Lou, it's all good, Lou. I ain't got to fight you, Lou. You know, oh yeah, Phil, you think you better than me, huh, Phil? You better than me because Lou, it's all good. all the Lou's that's out there, all the Lou's that's out there that feel that way, it's all good, see? You know, at the end of the day, the fields are going to do what they got to do to stick it out.
That's right.
Make sure their children and they nieces, their nephews, the travel ball team, the little boy down the street in the neighborhood, we're going to do what we can to make sure that they good and they have at least if I can't water him, at least I can plant the seed.
Right.
Yeah.
But Will, that's how it used to be back in the day, because I can remember hearing so many stories on how fathers back in the day used to.
The crown is heavy, man.
Take up time with kids, but somewhere along the line, we lost that. We forgot about that. We put that to the side for some reason. I just can't put my hand on why we did that. But when we decided to do that, all these other things started to take effect. You know,
I know when it started.
I know you know when it started.
When the crack came,
crack epidemic.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Families weren't families no more.
That's true. Yeah,
because like when if we go back, I'm gonna take y'all back. All right. Like we said that. Is my dad still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Right here.
Oh, okay. Remember we used to.
What's up, Pop?
Hello.
I'm just listening. I'm listening.
But remember we was talking when we was doing the crack epidemic. We said like the nephew didn't respect the uncle no more because the uncle was doing drugs.
Yeah.
And the daddy was gone.
No,
yeah. And then that son probably was the breadwinner in the house.
Yes. Yep.
So that's where the family broke down at.
Yep.
Wow.
So I always say that's when our community went bad, because that's when the family went bad.
Well, actually, before that, I mean, there was a heroin epidemic too. Well, you guys probably too. That came before the crack, right?
When was that? Dad? When was that? When was the heroin epidemic, Dad?
In the 70s.
The heroin, it was the heroin and the AIDS. They both went hand in hand. You know, because remember, people were shooting heroin. You couldn't shoot with the same needle. If the person had AIDS, you're going to catch AIDS. But anyway, that devastated the community. That wiped out whole families.
Yeah. So go ahead.
And then later on, the crack just came and just did the rest.
Finished it off.
The rest of the devastation. Yeah. But it started with the heroin. started with the heroin. They was putting heroin in our community.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think younger people did more crack than they did? Your ages were younger and crack than heroin, or the heroin and crack?
I think more damage was done with the crack.
I'm talking about
it was a different high because again, as you know, I don't say this, I don't brag about this, but I've done both.
Uh-huh.
I've exposed to both. And with the heroin, the type of high you get off of heroin, you one shot, you good. You lay back. That crack, you just gotta keep going more and more and more.
Wow.
You have to have the resources.
Yeah.
If you don't have the resources, the addiction is so intense. If you're gonna find a way to get that money, to get that crack, and you don't care if it's your mama, your brother, or whoever, that was different. With the heroin was different than that.
Yeah.
So that, but it's laid back. I'm sorry.
So the heroin, I mean, how you explain it, it was kind of like a more laid back, subtle type of high. That crack, especially that crack. Now people mistake crack for cocaine. Crack is not altogether cocaine. It might have some cocaine in it, but it's really amphetamine, right? And it keeps you up and going and going. Your eyes just wide. You're just going for days and days, almost like this crystal meth they're doing now. And so again, and you have this sensation to do more and more and more and more. And with that sensation, you want to get more money to do it. So, but yeah, you're right. But it did help devastate our community. Oh. And you was on point. You said that there was really no resources in the community. I'm talking about the city. I'm talking about metropolitan. I'm talking about the city area. There was really no opportunity there for these kids. And again, the house was without a father. There was no father. The mother was officially the head of the household, and she was on public assistance. And all of a sudden, here come this crack. And just like you said, these kids found out that they can make money off these cracks. So they bring money home. Now, you remember back in the day, you couldn't bring nothing home to your house, to your mother's house.
No, nobody closing nothing.
You couldn't bring nothing. You couldn't even steal a bike and bring it home. Where the hell? Where you get that bike from? You know what I mean? But with that crack, these kids start bringing that money home. These mothers didn't have no money, so they start accepting money from these kids to pay the rent and to do this and to do that. So that's letting these kids, sending the message to these kids that it's all right to do that. Right. And they're out there and they're hustling. Now all of a sudden, a lot of the like me, and I'm speaking from experience. That was messing with drugs prior to that crack, because remember there was base. Remember Richard Pryor and base?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Base was cocaine cooked down to its purest form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was smoking it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, a lot of people, and then that crack came out. They call it Ready Rock. Remember?
Yep.
A lot of people thought that Ready Rock was that base, but it wasn't that base. It was that amphetamine. So they got caught out there like me on that crack, because remember, cocaine was like a weekend thing. You can do coke over the weekend, go party, sniff you some coke, or
and go on right back to work.
What they used to call it, weekend warriors.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And then football during the week, and without even needing any drugs, right? And then the weekend comes, you put your little money, they call it recreational, right?
Yeah.
But when that crack came out, couldn't do it no more.
Detrimental.
You missed the weekend. Gone.
I went to work off some crack and that got fired. I was driving a forklift and almost tore the man building down.
So check this out now.
We're talking about what destroyed the black family and what destroyed the drugs.
Yeah. So check this out. I got one thing. Now, how did I devalue our women, our black women?
Repeat that.
That's a good one.
Repeat that.
I said, how did it devalue our black women?
How did it devalue our black?
Because I was, I be riding, and I was just thinking about, like I said, when we started, what a real man was, right? Everybody got their definition of a real man, right? Then I started thinking about women. I started thinking about even when it goes way back from when the woman was in the, I take everything back to slavery, when the woman was in slavery, right? And how she was used to control a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's 3 to 4 dynamics to it.
Okay.
I think it's that the Willie Lynch syndrome. What syndrome? The Willie Lynch syndrome. What's the Willie Lynch syndrome? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's one. That goes back to slavery. Okay, let me, again, I got your man, but in order for me to make sure that I control what I need to control, let me devalue him. Let me castrate him in front of you so you can see this. That's right. To make him, worthless. That's the image in your head, and also the image that's gonna devalue him. But then let me also go ahead, because again, I want to control this. So again, your sons haven't been born yet, or they're about to be born. So let me put this fear in you and that's going to take you to say, well, they took the provider away from me, the foundation away from me, and devalue him. I don't know what to do, but let me protect my baby, my son.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep your head down. You don't look. You don't say nothing, because I got to make sure I keep what's left of any type of man for me.
Right.
So now I love, as they say, as some people will put it, they raise their daughters, but love their sons, or whatever, some people put it. I think number one, that's one. The other, I think, goes back to not only when we talk about the drugs and the heroin and all of that, but again, what led to that? And I wanted to ask Pop that question, just asking if he would like to answer, like what led you to say, okay, I'm gonna try this drug. Because again, it protects you. No, go ahead, please finish. Yeah, and so so again, now you're talking about jobs. It's a struggle to get jobs already. So you get to the civil rights movement and all of that. You're working people land, you're working people field, you're barely making enough to even keep the land that ain't even yours to stay on. Because again, all of the foolery that, oppressors have already done, to make you feel less, and you struggling, having to deal with this white man or whatever the case is, to get money from their business or their employment. And then now you go and so there's a struggle there. There's a stress there on the man, but also the woman too. Because she up there working at their house, cleaning their clothes, taking care of their kids.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of dynamics that goes into play. Now you start to devalue, because again, I'm putting you guys against each other.
Right.
So that's what so again, it's a process of when it comes down to devalue. Now I'm not saying it's right, but when the question is asked, I'm looking at it, a whole broad. So now we get to, the process of the 70s and the 80s. We're fighting for rights, all of this, and all we still having to battle and deal with, trying to, living in the ghetto and whatever case that we want to say, still trying to make money to provide for our family, and it's not happening. So now we look to drugs, we find the drugs. So now she's struggling because she either got that woman that haven't failed to that temptation, but still going on them people's jobs, being a waitress, going to this, working at this mansion, working at this country club, whatever the case is. So she's looking at you, or looking at the man. Oh, you ain't this, you ain't that.
You ain't what she see. You ain't what she see at them country clubs.
Right.
You ain't what you see at the country club. So now he looking at you like, I can't even believe you. Do you understand? Every time I try to go get a job and how they treat me and how they look at me, they keep denying me.
It's like on that Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting out there. Doing that. So now,
when you're talking about society, how society see a black man as opposed to seeing a black woman, and not to use this as no excuse, but that they're more comfortable with black women on the work in the workplace.
Right.
So when a black woman goes to get a job, I think she's more apt to get that job quicker than a black man applying for that, especially if it's entry level position.
Absolutely.
Because again,
Absolutely.
you know, just looking at the black man, just looking at my skin color is a weapon. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think a light skinned dude will get the job before you?
You know he will. Where you at?
I just had to say it. Yeah. He said, you know he will. What you think? You know he will.
This dude got joke. This dude got joke.
I'm the same complexion as you, brother. I'm in Pops. I'm the same complexion as you.
Then he knew the answer to that question.
I'm the red Negro on the phone.
Look in the media. Look in the media. Look on TV. Look in magazine. Look around. Then you can answer that question for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm the red Negro.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, William Red.
Yeah.
William Red.
Yeah, he get the job.
He'll get the job.
He get the
job for all of us.
Yeah. Come here, sit down, William. Let me talk to you.
They ain't gonna let me go so far. They gonna put me in the mail room.
Yeah. and he can speak too, so they might let him.
Be the supervisor in the mail
I'm
room.
in the mail room. In the mail room, and then this room.
Oh, on the back dock.
Smoking a cigarette.
I wouldn't stay long because you know us red brothers, we got some things. And brother Malcolm X, you know, he was a red brother. But he was
yeah.
But he was speaking for all the brothers though.
Yeah.
For all the brothers. That's my.
I think today, right? And today, and I wish Brian we would have this conversation, but I think back in the day, black men had to really fight the white man. So when they say
Brian,
the white man, held me down. We say that.
Come on,
we grew up on saying that.
Oh, Lord.
But I think now it has shifted, away from the white man, and now we're fighting an institution. It's a whole institution now. So yeah, you think it always been the institution?
It's all been systematic. Yeah, it's systemic. Yeah, it's all systemic.
Okay. I can dig that. I definitely can dig that.
Hey, hold on for a minute.
But I just know the fight has intensified.
You got to come over. I can't see you.
Yeah.
Or you won't come over here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna fix the shot. No, man.
Hey, Brian about to get on. Hold on. Or you want to sit over here?
Oh, that's cool. I can have the camera on me now.
Brian about to come on, Pops. He's our production engineer.
Oh yeah, intelligent brother.
Intelligent, smart as.
What's up, William?
And he's a what are you?
Certified white person. Been with my entire life.
CWP. He's like my entire life.
I carry my white privilege card around with me.
Tell him again. Tell him if we got stopped, what you gonna do, Brian?
That's my joke.
Hey, Brian, if you got stopped, we'll tell him what card you gonna pull out.
I'm gonna pull out the white privilege card. Man. I keep it right here. Hang on.
Tear that speeding ticket up, huh? You give me this shit.
And that's,
don't worry. Like it comes with my ID. I keep it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It says right there, race white. Like there you go.
That's a privilege card.
You gotta let me go.
You gotta let him go
and protect my friends too.
Yeah, exactly. And they're with me.
It's the best thing. You can cut in line and everything. You can be like, excuse me. Here you go.
Oh my God, right.
Hey,
Free college admission.
Brian is special, not slow bus special.
Oh yeah.
But he's special because he sit here and he listened to all these conversations we had.
Yeah.
And you know what I like about him? He gives the truth, not the white person truth, not the black people truth. He just give you the middle truth.
Yeah.
I try to.
One day, me, him, and Dory was having a conversation.
We think alike because I was gonna say the same thing.
But you want to tell a story?
Yeah. So listen, one day we were having a conversation in here, and me, Jamel, and Brian, and we were talking about George Floyd. Brian made we were talking about George Floyd and what happened to George Floyd. Brian made a statement that absolutely blew my mind.
Had me look kind of crazy for a minute.
And we were looking side-eyed. at him because this was it was like still fresh, it was still fresh. And he made he said, and he's going to put it in his words, but he said George Floyd wasn't an icon. But I'm going to let Brian explain. I'm going to let him explain.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So George Floyd, the icon versus George Floyd, the man. There's two things. There's two sides to every one of these people, like Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, all these people. As an icon, George Floyd stands for a lot more than George Floyd, the man, does. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what kind of man George Floyd really was, because he stands for something that resonates with all of us. That's true. And George Floyd, the man, he wasn't a perfect man. He wasn't a good man. He was just a man like you or me. It could be anybody. But the icon is what is so important to giving us something to rally around, to talk and have this discussion on the dysfunctions that we have in our society and the dysfunctions we have, particularly with policing. So that was pretty much all I had to say about that.
No.
I ain't gonna let you out the hook that easy. No.
He said George Floyd was not an icon. He was not a guy to look up to.
Yeah.
But something bad happened to him that caused a movement that you can kind of look up to and be proud of.
Right.
So it's like being proud of the movement, but George Floyd wasn't an icon.
I would say that I would say that George Floyd, the guy, the man, is not indicative of what a good black man, an example of what good black men do and what good black men are. I'm just saying. I don't think I don't think he was. I think he was an example of a man, of a regular guy. What?
I had that too, Will.
Yeah, I could be wrong. He could have been an excellent guy. But the thing that bothered me about it is that every day there are examples that go unlooked and unexamined and unlauded of particularly good men, conspicuously good men, that go purposefully ignored. But the minute one thing happens to someone, what we rally around is that icon of what that stood for. When there was a guy pleading, saying, "I can't breathe," and there's a guy standing on his neck that smiled at the camera, right? That's something that resonates with us, and that's a very powerful thing. So that's all I had to say.
Right. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
You know what?
Who's speaking?
No. I hold up. Go ahead. I digress. You know, and I'll say that I can see that, and I can actually even accept that. Again, this is no disrespect to humankind or mankind itself, but that's just like me as a pastor, and I have to preach over people that die and that pass away. Right now, if I know, I'm just talking in general. If I know that the person that I'm speaking over wasn't no good, just not a good person, then why would I get up and lie about it?
That's heavy there, buddy.
Damn.
But every man.
I mean, again, for every man. So just in general, if I'm, we want you, certain such died, and I'm sorry. Matter of fact, I'm going to take it a step before. I'm going to take it a step before. The Bible says you live by the sword, you die by it, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So if a man or a woman, however it may be, and if someone tells me how they died, they went into somebody's house and to steal from them, and not knowing that the person was home and the person killed them.
Yeah.
Now again, we know them on a regular to be a thief. You know what I'm saying? Someone that always trying to hurt somebody, all that kind of stuff. So again, I'm thinking about what Brian said and just thinking in general, according to life. Why would I lie? I'm not going to, now me on the other hand, if I know somebody like that, then I'm just going to focus on giving the people word. I'm not going to focus on talking about personal life.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Right. That makes sense though.
Yeah.
So you're saying just focus on Not George Floyd character, but what happened.
Yeah, the icon.
Right.
And that's right. That you're absolutely right. Every person has good and bad in it. I have good camera angles and I have bad camera angles. That's true for everybody, even the people that we make icons out of, right? So when you look at people who see the icon of George, when you look at racists, reactionary racists, will take the discussion of what George Floyd stood for and bring up imperfections in his character and be like, no, George Floyd wasn't a good man. We need to recognize that there's a separation between what this icon that we all resonate with, there's a separation between the icon, how we remember, how we, the community, receive each other, and how we actually are. That applies for everybody, right? No one, let ye without sin cast the first stone, right? When you start attacking people's character, no one is innocent. So,
but why is it like that though? Why? I can remember when I feel like I'm disrespecting him because I can't even remember his name right now. But he got killed some years back, and we didn't focus. Well, the media didn't focus on the murder. They were quick to talk about, well, hours before he just robbed. Yeah, he just robbed a store for some cigarettes, or the police saw him walking on the wrong side of the street. We immediately go to that. When Breonna Taylor got killed, we went to, she's dead, but her boyfriend was a drug dealer. But you dismiss the fact that it always happens though, and I don't understand why.
Because the lesson to blow.
They do it every time.
The value to life. So since you robbed the store, well, maybe you deserve to die. Or maybe your death don't mean so much.
Right.
They do it every time, and they do it because of subliminal systematic racism. Because to all those people, to all those white people listening, once you give them just a little bit of this person robbed a store, then they're cool with it. They're okay.
That's good.
Right. That's why the media does that every time.
That's good stuff.
Did I say something wrong?
No, I just heard that. You said that wrong.
But that's they do that every time, and that's why I was talking about with George Floyd, is that I always want to get it out the way that whenever you talk about people who died de facto by the law, by the U.S. Constitution, they died an innocent man. Maybe they didn't. The law doesn't tell you who's good and bad. They tell you who's innocent and guilty, right? When you die because a police officer kills you without due process, you died innocent. I don't care if you just murdered a school of people. You died innocent. You need due process.
That's absolutely fact.
The law in the United States does not differentiate between good people and bad people. God does that, not the law. We're not in good people, bad people, but we judge each other based off of that. So as soon as some innocence happens that is intolerable, that we need to correct, the way the system will cover for itself is they will immediately go to attack that person's character and take up whatever bad they have, which everybody has, and they will show that first, front, and center.
Right.
And that's
that's good. That's good there, buddy.
Yeah.
That's the MO. That's the MO. That's the MO. That's always been the MO. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
First, you have to discredit the person. A smear campaign. Right. So, and that ain't people coming to correct. Yeah.
Well, and notice what's going on. This is not a one-way street for this tactic. It's always about this between groups of people, because we're willing to accept the other group of the person from the other tribe we should not invest in their well-being, right? If some white guy has something bad happen to him, and then the community said, yeah, but he said some really racist stuff in Twitter when he was 9 or something, then all of a sudden we're cool with that, right? Because as soon as you pitch to one group that you should be complicit in what wrong happened to this character because of some bad things they did or some bad flaws in their character, it works every time in every direction. It's not just something that happens just to black people by getting white people to excuse the violence and misjustices upon them. It happens anywhere between two groups. I mean, friggin' Indians and Pakistanis do this. It's all over the world. It's baked into human nature.
That's good stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Somebody say something.
Oh, you?
Thank you.
Yeah, that was it.
Hey, that's why we can't let them talk too much, man.
Okay, yeah. Well,
I feel the same way.
It's cool as groups. It's true, associate as groups, we are tribal. That part is true. But when you're talking tribalism, we're talking about, let's say, the United States, right? When you're talking about groups, you're talking about the dominant, the majority group and the minority group. Now, that's just like saying, if I was going to get a job and I had a high school diploma, even if I had a bachelor's degree in the United States, chances are, and it's still this way, because of the color of my skin, that already diminishes my so-called capability of doing this job. Now, on the other hand, I got a guy here, he's a white guy, he has a bachelor's degree, or he might even have a high school diploma, and I have a bachelor's degree. Chances are he'll end up being my boss.
Yeah.
Now, that's tribalism, nepotism and tribalism, but you got to look at the majority tribe, the one who's running, the one who, the one in power.
Oh, even worse.
And so, I understand what you're saying in terms of tribalism. I understand that. But when you got the tribe with the majority, then you got a tribe of minority. Well, I don't see while the behavior may be the same, the consequences for one may not be the same for the other. That's all I'm saying. Do you understand?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's always asymmetrically in favor of the majority. Whichever majority group there is in a society will always have the leverage to oppress the minority. That happens.
That's the way it is.
But what you talked about with the jobs is you're right that it is harder to get. It's not hard to get certain jobs as minorities. But the thing is that the jobs that it's not super hard to get, you're the first guy to get let go as soon as something goes wrong. You're the fall guy. I've seen it myself multiple times. Like when anything happened, like the grind shop I used to work in, this guy used to keep one black guy on the floor. And anytime he would have a QA issue, the black guy would go and you get a new black guy. Like I've seen it. So it's very different. You're right. It is different based off of tribes in the United States. And let's talk about this tribalism thing and where it comes from. So,
that's all over. Before you start, that's all over. The United States is racism. In other countries, it's caste.
Yeah.
In other countries, it's apartheid. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's all over.
That is a human thing. I would say that while the U.S., while these trends and the reality of life definitely applies to the United States, as far as any particular nation in history, the United States is a melting pot, and we do better at this than the rest of history, right? We are sitting here having this conversation. This does not happen between the Sunni and Shia Muslims. It doesn't happen between India and Pakistan. It certainly doesn't happen in East Asia, right? So we tend to give ourselves a harder time that's both deserved and undeserved. These are real problems that do exist, but we are talking about them. We're doing.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How many other Brian Smiths are out there that's talking like that?
Most of them.
With
I would say most of them, at least most of the people. Yeah. Most white people today, and this is another thing that people don't like to talk about. We have had propaganda since the 1970s to train white people to not have a strong in-group bias. Every group has a strong in-group bias except for white Americans or white people. White people have the opposite. They have an out-group bias. It's a weird thing. White guilt is a whole different conversation. White people get uncomfortable about it, but it's a real thing. But what I wanted to say about tribalism is where it comes from, why it's a problem is it comes from human history. Human history, we would get together in bands of like 150 people, and we would that's how we survived. We would do agriculture, we would do permaculture, we would have routes, we'd have territories. And one of the major threats to your tribe and your society is if the adjacent tribe ran out of women or had some survival issues, the adjacent tribe could come screw you up. This is replete throughout human history. So we are hyper aware of the message of them other people over there are trying to take our women, them other people over there are trying to kill our kids. We're hyper aware of that because that's been part of human survival for a very, very long time. Where it breaks down is we are currently in untreaded waters with humanity. We live in a global integrated society. The whole world trades with the whole world today. And we are trying to integrate not just hundreds of millions of people, we're trying to integrate billions of people to get along. The entire world has tens of thousands of nuclear warheads that keeps pointed at its own head all the time. All right? When you bring tribalism, when you bring a hierarchical primate species with tribalistic tendencies to this table, and you say, from now on, for probably millions of years, you are going to have to survive on this planet without pulling the trigger and nuking yourself. Good luck. Now tribalism has got to go. You cannot have, you just can't do that. You got to start integrating people. You got to start getting rid of your ability to destroy each other, because we have this one shot. Once war kicks off between industrialized nations, the next one that kicks off is the last one that'll kick off, because we're extinct after that. So we can't keep abusing each other. And if you care about leaving a world to your children where your children will survive the next 50 years, you better start talking to people from different tribes and sorting stuff out and being like, this is where it comes from, and this is where it goes wrong. This is what we can do to heal. This is how you will never be able to get past this if we damn the future because we can't let go of the past, right? If I'm Canada or the US, and I say, hey, you know what, we're just 1912, the War of 1812, we're not really ready. There's so much wrong. So much of our past is incompatible with the only way we can survive our future. We just can't keep going on at each other's throats. I mean, really, we got.
Okay, I'm glad. Well, you know what, and I hear you. And idealistically, you're on point, but it's only idealistic.
No, it can't be.
Because if you look at the state of the world now, if you look at social economics, you look at conservation, you look at environment. What you're talking is just idealism, because in actuality, we're not trying to live like that. We're not trying to. It's just look at conservation. Look at what we're leaving our kids, or in this case, what we're not leaving them. They're going to curse us out. Our great-grands are going to curse us. They're going to curse us because we live in a society, and a racism aside, just as a whole. But again, when we're talking about society, you got to talk about the dominant tribe, the one that has the most influence on our everyday lives, and frankly, that's white people as far as I know. Mm-hmm. And it's for the last 66 years. So when you look at who's in control, it's white people. Would you agree with that?
I agree completely. That's changing. That's swiftly becoming the Han Chinese. White.
Well, let's hope so.
White. What? No, you don't.
Let's hope so.
Well, no, we don't want the Han Chinese to do this, or the.
Well, no. Well, again, we don't want that. But I'm speaking to it's changing. Just the fact that it's changing, not necessarily who hands is changing too, but change too. And so when we look at capitalism, the role capitalism play in all, you can't dismiss that. Greed, gluttony. Mm-hmm. We're using all our resources up, and as a result, we're trying to cut certain groups and tribes out because they're feeling like, well, they're not contributing. They're more of a liability than an asset. We take all this stuff into consideration as to what's going on. And so the ones that are liability, everything's being done to just cut them out, period, because we're looking at them as a liability. They're not contributing.
Yeah.
And you know, the byproduct of capitalism is poverty. Would you agree?
So about the poverty of capitalism, and capitalism v. socialism is an interesting topic. First off, you're right. You're right that I'm being idealistic about the next 100 years or so. And you're also right that these injustices and these parts of our past might be irreconcilable, right? And that makes our odds of survival for the next 100 years like go to the floor. What I'm describing isn't like if Brian had a magic paintbrush and could paint, ponies and unicorns for everybody. What I'm describing is the minimum amount of idealism that we must be able to achieve to survive the next 100 years without killing ourselves. And you're right. That's actually a very tall order because that's not the way we're heading. Now, about capitalism and poverty. Capitalism's poverty is a strange double-edged sword. Capitalism does produce poverty in the financial sense. If you do central banking finance, there's always more debt circulating than there is capital to pay it off. It's like musical chairs. That's why you always see homeless people in highly developed capitalist economies, because they all use that financial system, right? So it makes financial poverty, relative financial poverty. But the other byproduct of capitalism is extreme and perverse and unbelievable unbelievable material wealth. The kinds of things that are symptomatic of poverty in just America, things like obesity, diabetes, and clutter in your house. You have too many calories. Right. Your calories are too sweet, too high on the glycemic index. Mm-hmm. You have really quick, rare calories.
Yeah.
And then your house is cluttered. You have too many possessions. Right? Yeah. These are all symptoms of extreme material wealth in the face of financial poverty. So you could maybe make an argument saying that the kinds of material wealth that capitalism produces are like, planned obsolescence. The kinds of things that we offload onto people are really, the stuff is more of a liability than it is an asset. Right. You could maybe say that's ultimately up to personal choices, though, right? We humans, we're evolved to have a very acute sense of sweet because that does not exist in our natural diet. We need to be extremely acute on being able to taste sugar.
We had that conversation before.
Very, very. And
I think that's acquired. I don't know if that genetically we have an acute taste for sweet. I think that has evolved. That is something that we've acquired.
We've acquired a resistance to the sensation of sweet, but no, every tribe of humans ever has a very acute sense of sweet and salt. So when anthropologists make contact with uncontacted tribes, there are two things we bring them. We bring them salt and we bring them sugar because they understand that and they can taste that, and that's rare. And that is the creme de la creme, salt, sugar. Like if you ask people who are hunting in the Kalahari what the best things in life are, they will tell you meat and they will tell you honey. Those are the two best things in life, according to them. So no, every human understands sweet and understands salt. It's rare in our diet. It's very difficult to survive and acquire those things. So we have to have acute senses for them.
That's why I asked the question earlier about where are the other, that idea, where are the other Brian Smith? And again, we understand the dynamics of who is controlling what. Because if we had more Brian Smith that we know of to be able to actually have this discussion more, but also have the application with it, then we could actually see that actual change, be manifested. That's the whole thing for me is for us to actually, start making the adjustment not more so having the conversation, because everybody having conversations,
Right.
especially on CNN, Fox News, and all of that. You're bringing in certain ones to come in to talk from one tribe from another tribe to continue to have it circulating. So we keep having these conversations and bringing different people on, every as a cycle within every 6 months to a year period. But all the stuff is still happening. Poverty is still being manifested. Gun violence is still being manifested. All that stuff is still taking place.
Right.
And so it's again, are we going to bust down the doors to say, hey, just like 119 Media Group is doing, are we going to be able to take it because it's open? I think it's open road from here. So are we going to take advantage of open road from here? When before we had to get, you had to go through certain channels to get through a network to be able to actually speak to an audience. So now that this platform has been given to us and it's open road for it, now is the time to, see if we're listening, what are we going to do? What are we doing? Let's do what we got to do to make those things happen.
It goes back to the assignment.
Where's the plan of systematic action, right?
Yep.
There's plenty of plans of systematic action. And like if you sit down in groups of young socialists who all have IQs over 140, who are all very smart people, all they do is they sit down, they make plans, and they talk about intellectual stuff. They never really actuate stuff. So one of the reasons why I'm at 119 is because there's a specific pattern that generates success. One, you have to have a vision of where you're going. You have to know where you're going. And two, you have to make 2 steps every day. You have to do at least as good as you did yesterday. And then you have to take another step and make tomorrow better than today was. And as long as you endure and continue that process, you will achieve success in whatever direction you're trying to go. So the reason why I'm with 119 is that is exactly the behavior pattern that Jamel Light has. He just innately does it. He's brilliant about it. So
Jamel Light, woo!
Yeah.
You heard that word? He said brilliant.
Yeah.
You called me brilliant in front of my dad.
I'm here. You need to be proud of Jamel. I'm very proud of you. There are very, very few men like Jamel. Most people wash out when the time before you get to success. There's this long tail of stuff where it looks like you're doing nothing, and then it hockey sticks. And when you hear about exponential growth, everybody thinks about the hockey stick, the yield, where people are just taking in tons of cash. What they don't think about and what they don't understand is that because it's exponential, there's this long tail where it looks like you're really doing nothing. And the guy who does some linear thing, like does a job or whatever, he's going to outpace you. He's going to leave you in the dust for 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe most of your life. But because you kept your eye on that exponential goal and you kept at it, as long as you can endure the length of that tail, you'll eventually get to the growth period. And as long as you keep your focus on the next horizon, the next element of the horizon, and you keep stepping towards it, there's no limit to where you can go. So with one, yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish,
yeah, with 119, Jamel brought up a good point to me, that you really don't, you play your cards kind of close to your chest. You don't talk about stuff before you're ready to go get it. So I don't want to get into exactly going back to like what the plan of action is. We only talk about the next thing we're actually directly chasing. And right now it's production quality. But in terms of like, yeah, why is it that all of these things die at conversation? People talk, and nothing happens. Well, because the people talking stop at talking. They don't have any plan of action. They're not trying to usher in a social movement. If they are doing a social movement, the only things that stick are when power finds out a way to consolidate power. Like in every social revolution, in every like wonderful triumph that we have, behind the scenes, there's always some stuff that we, the regular people of the world, would recognize as corruption happening. Right? And this is very
recognized as what? I'm sorry.
As corruption happening. Whenever we have some great revolution or something that everybody believes in as a great thing, behind it is some conspiracy stuff going on. Powerful people found out how to consolidate power further. And that's why that thing is allowed. And it's kind of the ugly, like, this is how sausage is made, but you have to appease that. You have to take care of that whole dimension of it. And when you see young idealists who when they're young, they, think about how the world should work, the ones who quote unquote make it are the ones who found out that behind the scenes that whatever instigates change is always further consolidation of power. So this is why Hillary Clinton, who was a hippie idealist in the 60s, is now like the epitome of the US deep state. And she's a success story. All the other young idealists either got crushed or wiped out or had to sell out and work for the man or something like that. But she became the man. So,
murder.
Yeah, and there's a lot of dirty stuff. Like we can and should talk about real conspiracies and how conspiracy and conspiracy theory should be thought of. We can do that. It's a whole separate conversation, though.
That would be my conversation. I can't wait for that.
I love real conspiracy theories.
Well, hey.
But I hear you, Brian.
I just wanted to really introduce Brian to the world.
Yeah, you just did.
I like to stay behind the camera. I don't come out.
Yeah, you just did.
He let me do the emotional part, and he just come dropping facts.
Yeah. He just prophetically spoke over your life. So he's a prophet too. My God.
Did you know that prophets don't exist as people? They exist in the eye of the beholder.
Ooh.
Yeah. So like Muhammad and Yeshua of Nazareth, those were people with people problems. But as an icon, they became a prophet.
I like the word prophet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you that. What do you guys think of Camilla Harris? Is that her name? Camilla Harris? What do you think of
Kamala?
Yeah, Kamala. Yeah. When she was introduced prior to being elected as the vice president, when she was introduced to the public, especially black people, she was introduced as black. Am I correct?
She's Indian.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all do know that woman's not black, right?
She's Indian.
And it goes much deeper than color. It goes much deeper than ethnicity. Well, color anyway. She's Indian. If I'm not mistaken, she's from India.
So, yeah, her
okay,
heritage
and India, just like Mahatma Gandhi was from India. India has a caste system. Are you guys familiar? Are you guys familiar with the caste system of India? The untouchable.
Oh, the caste system.
Yeah, the caste system.
Yeah, the Brahmins and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she comes out of that system.
Yeah, she's. I can tell. What was that?
Will.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Back on.
Oh, Jamel's calling. Yeah.
Yeah, I think back on.
So, Kamala Harris. All right. So it's not really about Kamala Harris. I don't know her. I'm sure she's a person just like all of us. That means there's good and bad in her. But what I can comment on.
I don't know what happened.
What happened?
Still here?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me try to get.
Yeah, we here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You here, William?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm here, man. I don't know if it's the elite up there trying to cut us off, man. They ain't want to talk.
They don't want to hear this one right here.
That's not how.
Find out Brian was on the line. God.
Oh no, there was one time Real Talk 360 was delivering the 5. What's up?
Go ahead. Everybody still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
We got William and Mr. Lyde.
Mm-hmm.
So Camilla Harris. Who we're calling?
My pops here.
Oh, your pops. Pops dropped. Gotcha. We're gonna get Mr. Lyde.
You hear, man?
Scott. Yeah, hold on.
Scott Lyde.
William, Willie Jr., you here?
No, I was saying she she's from India, and she comes from the caste system in India, and that caste system is a system of racism, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pretty much any power structure that classifies people is going to be, heavily involved with race. Well,
I think everybody gone now.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Still keep talking though.
It's just us.
Yeah.
So, Kamala Harris. I don't know Kamala Harris. I would assume that she's a person that has good things and bad things about her, just like everybody else. But what I can comment on is the nature of power and the machine or the man. And every generation, there's a dominant ideology or a popular ideology of the time. And every generation, power is going to put on a mask of whatever the dominant ideology was. So for the baby boomers, the dominant ideology was conservatism. So you had the neoconservative movement. And the neoconservative movement put on that conservative mask and does what power always does, which is consolidate more power, which means things like, ever larger corporations, regulatory capture, moving factories overseas, choking out your opportunities, and going to war. And now there's a new generation coming up, the millennials. Their ideology is liberalism. So we have power putting on a liberal face. Whatever you need this face to look like, it's going to look like that. And it's going to do what power does every time. So the only thing I have to say about Kamala Harris and in relation to her ethnicity or ethnicity as it's portrayed by any person in power is don't be fooled.
Right.
That person's there because power selected them to be there.
Correct.
They're not there. They're not there as a representative of their race or color or anything. They're a representative of power to specific people.
Okay.
I like that.
The other thing is that, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was about to wrap up. Go ahead.
The other thing is that we're going to see power put on more minority faces now. And it's because white people have been propagandized since the 1970s to abandon their in-group bias. Look, this is something I stand behind. I think we should propagandize white people and say, look, you need to not be prejudiced. That's important. But now the reason why we're going to see more minority faces is because the white people, the people who do 70% of the voting, that's what they want to see. So that's what they get. So don't be fooled. These people are not allies just because they have a particular color skin or whatever. So
I got you. I think you gave him too much today, Brian.
Okay.
No, you ain't got to leave right now before we wrap the show up. But
I was relegated to saying, yeah.
I'm sorry if I tend to rant.
I didn't go close it out. We out.
Thank y'all.